Welcome back to Briggs on Books, our international talk show where we talk to authors from all over the world. Today we've had two from England, one from Scotland, one from Canada. But if you're getting ready to pick your next book, the next book you're going to read, you're going to want to check this out. I learned to soar, how I discovered my purpose. And not only do we have the book here today, but I've got the author. Let's see if I can find her. There she is. Joyce Lynn Barnett. Welcome, Joyce.
Hello, good to be back home.
Tell us what far away land you're in.
Louisville, Kentucky.
Louisville, that's nice. Is that where they have the horse races?
Kentucky Derby.
Kentucky Derby. Well, I've been there. I've been to the race. So.
Okay, good.
Now, this book, by the way, we talked to you, I'm going to just pop this, the last book up, Rosa's Big Comeback. We got to talk to you about that. But this book, I Learned to Soar, just came out like this week, I think. This has got to be your first talk show since it came out?
Yes.
Well,
yes, it is.
We're honored to feature, be the first to feature the book. Tell us about the book.
All right, it's an autobiography. Part one, I'll probably do the next part next year. It's a book. It's called I Learned to Soar, How I Discovered My Purpose. And it chronicles the first 50 years of my life. I discuss my childhood and all the way through. I talk about my nursing career and a little about my former marriage and how I moved to D.C. when I was in my early 20s with only $200
in a sock,
tucked away in a sock. I had just got my tax refund back in the day. You know, we didn't have direct deposit. Yeah. And went there. But the main reason for the book now, the main reason is, I tell you, it has a common thread with Rosa's Big Comeback, which I published in 2019. And the common thread is that a person can have hardships in life, but depending on your state of mind, your own state of mind, and your faith, you can overcome those things if you just keep going.
If you keep going.
And so that's the common thread between the two books, because both protagonists, myself in the new book and Rosa in the other, were women who just believed you shouldn't stop, you should persevere.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yes, and that's the common thread in the books.
I love books by women who are strong women who overcome and let other women know, hey, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. If you persevere and keep going, you'll get to the other end. I appreciate you telling your story. It's very brave of you to tell your own story like that. Now, I understand the book. We'll get to know what it's like to grow up where you grew up in your neighborhood.
Well, I grew up in a neighborhood in Louisville called Newburgh, Newburg. And it still is a very close-knit neighborhood. It always has been. And growing up in that neighborhood, believe it or not, Mike, I was shy.
I can't believe
I was a shy little girl.
Yeah.
But there was something about my peers during that time. Everybody kept coming to me for advice.
Huh.
And here I was 12 years old, and I'm like, why are they asking me? But it could be anything from what should I do about this boy to my brothers doing this, and they would come to me as a 12-year-old. By the time I was in my 20s, though, I recognized that there was a meaning to that.
Hmm.
And so, how I discovered my purpose uh, was through the many things that I experienced over the years, working as a nurse, working as a hospital chaplain, working as a life skills coach to homeless women, even got a diploma in funeral service. to the realization hit me that um, Joyce, you're a bit of a social activist. So I claim that now, and that's my purpose is social activism.
Social
You won't
activism.
see me more than likely carrying a sign, but you will see it in my writings. Both my books have something to do with social activism. Mm-hmm.
Now, I guess you have to get a few more years behind you to write your second memoir, because you're probably just barely 50 now, and you wrote about your first 50 years.
My first 50 years, well, we're the same age, Mike.
Okay.
You and I. We won't say,
Okay.
but the reason why I want to do a part two is because even the first 50 years, even when I was 50, 52, a lot has happened in those few years.
Yeah, I bet.
That I've changed my thinking on a few things since I was 50.
Yeah, funny. I've been noticing that with myself. Things I used to think were so important aren't so important anymore. Now, who's going to read this book? I've got an idea, a couple people I'm going to give it to because I think they'll get something out of it. But who's this book good for?
Well, a lot of my writing is about women. Um, any woman of any age,
Yeah.
but particularly um, middle-aged women. But I would say even a woman in her 30s, because they would get a glimpse of some of the things to maybe expect, or even some things to avoid.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of wisdom in both of those books.
Yeah. Now, you picked up and moved to Washington, D.C. from Kentucky, and you had $200 in a sock, and you were going to what? Start over? Did you have a job, or you just went to see what's going to happen?
Well, I've always had a little bit of adventure in me, and I just wanted to get out of my hometown. You know, I knew that the world was a bigger place because this was instilled in me and my four sisters as well when we were growing up by our mother.
Oh.
She used to tell it, and we didn't understand at first because, we were like 10, 12, and she would say things to us about like, just because you're from Kentucky doesn't mean you can't see a bigger world. And that has always stayed with me.
Yeah.
But I went to D.C. because I thought it was would be an interesting place, mainly because of the energy that was there at the time, and I'm glad I did it.
Yeah.
I have no regrets. My first year there in 1980, I would say was one of the best years to date, one of the best years of my life.
Mm,
And I was, because that first year I was on my own
yeah.
and I got to meet some interesting people in that area.
How long did you stay?
I was there all through the 80s
Hmm.
and I met my former husband in 82
Hmm.
and then we decided after so many years that we wanted to raise our children in a slower pace
Hmm.
environment because at the time, times have changed now, Louisville was a good place to raise children, and it's still a
Yeah.
great
Yeah.
city. Don't bash me, Louisville. Still a great city. It just has the elements are a whole lot different
Hmm.
now. Uh, but we came back, bought a home, and uh, after the marriage ended, when the boys got older, um, I never knew that. I mean, I knew I would go back to DC to visit,
Hmm.
but I didn't realize that. Isn't this funny? In 2012, um, I was invited to come back to DC to work under a contract as a life skills coach for homeless women.
Mm. Wow.
And I did. I went back for 2 years, a year contract that turned into two.
That,
And so I moved around a bit, but I don't regret it. I mean, it comes back now. Like I said, doing all those things helped me to discover my purpose.
your
It
purpose.
all came together for social activism because when I was in DC in 2012, I literally worked on the street
Mm.
with the team.
Do you have a favorite social activism project right now?
I have one in the oven. I'm making my outline and notes on it,
Nice.
and it never ceases.
Now,
I mean, but I have a couple of things that I'm passionate about. I'm not trying to save the whole world. I'm just trying to contribute my part to it. You know, but there are a couple of things. One of my sons is autistic,
mhm.
so I have a lot of autism advocacy going on, and between that and the women um, uh, that are homeless that want to change their lives,
Yeah.
there's plenty to write about.
Um, Let me ask you this. I mean, you spoke glowingly about your neighborhood when you were a kid, and I would imagine there was kids that never got out of the neighborhood, that they're still there. Do you feel like you got out, you went away,
Hmm.
now you're back, and you feel you're back because you want to be there instead of being stuck there, like somebody who never got out may feel they're just stuck there?
Uh, are you, well, I understand part of your question, but are you asking me, do I notice if some feel stuck? Is that it? Or,
Do you feel stuck? Are you now back in your home area because you want to be, rather than, you have no other options?
oh, the option is always there.
Yeah, you found that out.
And let me just say this without spilling the beans and saying a whole lot on that. It's actually temporary that I'm here.
Good. Nice, nice.
It, it's actually temporary.
Well, then,
I don't, uh, I don't feel stuck because that's something I can change.
mhm, nice. Yeah, I'm glad you got
So,
out when you're young, and now you know you can do it at any time and go somewhere else. I just want to say, I think you're a very brave person, picking up and going to D.C. I mean, that's so brave. But also writing a memoir, kind of spilling your soul out there on the pages of a book, that's very brave too. And I hope other women read your book and that it helps them become brave as well.
well, you know what? I, I just feel like now, when you write out a biography, you can choose what you really want to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think what I have shared in my book, I mean, I haven't spilled all. I mean, I think what I have shared is uh, part of what I do as not necessarily a social activist, but as a person that if I can do this,
Mm-hmm.
so can you.
Yeah,
But it depends on your state of mind
right.
and your faith.
There you go.
Hmm.
Joyce, once again, we're in trouble because we went over. My poor producers give me the cut sign, but I love talking to Joyce. You're inspirational. I'm inspired when I talk to you. We've got to go, but I just want to give you a minute to offer any last thoughts to our viewers about your books, about anything you want to talk about.
Well, both of my books are on Amazon.com now. Rose's Big Comeback you can get in Kindle, iTunes, and paperback. The new one you can get in paperback, and it's going to take a couple of days
Yeah.
for Kindle to kick in. But you can get both books. They're very reasonable. And with the holidays coming up, I think they would make nice gifts.
Yep. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's like I like to say, don't go to Amazon and click once. Click 5 times or 10 times and get books, give them away. Keep a small stack in your house because you always have to go to somebody's house and you want to take a gift when you go to dinner at someone's house. So, Joyce, thank you for coming on the show and inspiring us. And for our viewers, go buy this book by Joyce L. Barnett. And thank you, Joyce.
Thank you, Mike. Good seeing you again.
You too.
And one day I'll come back.
Okay, yeah, I'd like to have you back anytime you want to come on the show.
I may be in a different location then.
Okay, you kind of hinted that you're not stuck there. So for our
Oh,
viewers,
well.
stick around. We'll be back with more, another author right after this.
All right.